What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, throughout the history of my channel, we've looked at each individual position on the Detroit Lions and kind of got to know the position, got to know the players, what to expect, what they've done in the past, and what to expect from them in the 2020 season and beyond. But which position is the best? Well, that's what we're going to find out today, as we're going to go through my personal rankings of each position on the Detroit Lions, as far as not only talent at the top end, but how good the depth is, how good the talent of the depth is, and just kind of how good each position is as a whole. So if you are new to the channel and are enjoying the content, consider liking the videos and subscribe to the channel. Doing that helps push it out and bring new people in. It takes 2 seconds out of your day and it makes mine, and I would be very appreciative to everybody that chooses to help me out. But with that being said, let's get into ranking each and every position on the Detroit Lions going into the 2020 NFL season. At the last spot, number 9, I have the defensive line. Now, the defensive line last year was not very good, obviously, only having 28 sacks in the season, ranking bottom 5 in sacks and pressures, and they just weren't very good. They weren't getting pressure, they weren't getting sacks, they weren't forcing turnovers, weren't forcing mistakes or anything like that. They just were not playing very well. And then this year we brought in 2 free agents, Danny Shelton from the New England Patriots, who should be a good addition, and Nick Williams, who has had 1 breakout season but hasn't really shown that he can be a consistent threat in the pass rush game. So I just think with all the question marks and the fact that the defensive line, even with all the hype last year, all the talent on that line, didn't really produce last year for the Detroit Lions, they have to be at the bottom. And even though I don't think that they're necessarily horrible, I don't think that they're the worst unit in the league or anything, I don't think they're the worst pass rush or worst defensive line in the NFL, I believe they are the worst positional group on this team. Now, moving on to the 8th spot, I have the offensive line. Now, the reason I have this here is kind of similar to the defensive line. Now, the Detroit Lions offensive line last year was graded 11th by Pro Football Focus, which is a very good thing. However, they did give up 43 sacks last year, which was higher than a majority of other NFL teams. And this year we have a lot of question marks. We know Taylor Decker is going to start at the left tackle position. We know that Frank Ragnow is going to start at the center position. But other than that, we're not really 100% sure that where anybody's going to start. I mean, we can definitely predict and assume that maybe Big V is going to start at right tackle, that Jonah Jackson is going to start at a guard, that Joe Dahl might start at guard, but you don't know that. You really don't know who's going to start where other than the center and the left tackle position. And I think just with all those question marks, with a lot of young guys coming in, a lot of guys that haven't played full seasons, that haven't been full-time starters in the NFL before, and that are even new to the team, we just don't know how the offensive line is going to look next year. And even though that personally I think it will be good, I think with all those question marks and the fact that our offensive line gave up so many sacks and pressures last year, I had to put them kind of low on this list. But if they do perform next year, they could obviously make a huge jump by next season. Now, at the number 7 spot, I have the linebacker position. Now, I actually really like the top end of our linebackers. I think Jamie Collins was a fantastic pickup. I think he's a playmaker. I think it's what we needed in Detroit. Somebody that takes the ball away, that forces pressure, that really does a lot of things. And I think Matt Patricia is going to use Jamie Collins very similarly to the way he was used in New England. And I think that we're going to see a very similar season to what we saw last year out of Jamie Collins. I like Jelani Tavai. I think he was, last year during the draft, everybody kind of hated the pick. They thought it was too early. And then Jelani came in and kind of proved that he was worth that pick. He showed a lot of really good things last year in his rookie season, showed a lot of flashes, and I actually think he can be a very good linebacker in the NFL. The only reason the linebacker position is so low is because the depth on this roster at linebacker we have a lot of guys, but not a lot of talent, I wouldn't say, in the depth. For example, Jared Davis and Christian Jones both ranked bottom 8 in pass coverage by Pro Football Focus last season. Both of them were in the bottom 8 in pass coverage, which is absolutely horrendous. You cannot have that if you want to be a starting linebacker in the NFL. You have to be able to cover, and as we know, Jared Davis can't do that, and neither can Chris Jones. Both, as I said, ranking bottom 8 out of every single linebacker in the NFL last season. And so just because of that, I don't think that I could put the linebackers very highly. We have a lot of guys, but we don't have a ton of talent behind the starters. And we do have Julian Okwara on the edge as an outside linebacker slash pass rusher, and I think he will have a big impact his rookie season. But just the lack of depth at the middle linebacker position, or the lack of talent in depth, Jared Davis I think is a good run-stopping linebacker, but he can't coverage, and then I don't think Chris Jones is that good at all. So I had to leave the linebackers a little bit lower on this list. Now moving on to the 6th spot, I have the tight end. Now, the Detroit Lions have put a lot of capital into their tight ends the last couple of years with drafting TJ Hockenson at number 8, paying Jesse James a lot of money. We drafted 2 tight ends in the 2018 draft with Isaac Nauta and TJ Hockenson. We picked up Hunter Bryant this offseason as an undrafted free agent. It just feels like we're trying to build a very good tight end group, and I think that in a year or two it will be very good. It could even take a huge step next year. We don't know. However, last year, the tight ends really didn't produce a whole lot, and you could put that more on Darrell Bevell than the tight ends themselves, but the fact of the matter is that the tight ends did not put up stats. They did not really produce at a very high level in this Detroit Lions offense, and they did not really contribute a whole lot to the offense outside of week 1. Now, as I said, I think TJ Hockenson is a fantastic player. I don't think it was a wasted pick. I think it's too early to tell. He had a couple injuries last year. He had a couple inconsistencies, but what do you expect out of a rookie tight end? I mean, every rookie is going to make rookie mistakes. I guarantee you this year that Jeffrey Okudah is going to make some rookie mistakes. I even bet Joe Burrow makes a lot of rookie mistakes in Cincinnati. And he is arguably the best player in this draft class. And I mean, everybody makes rookie mistakes. It's part of being human. It's part of being a rookie surrounded by veteran talent. And, it's just going to happen. So, TJ Hockenson, while having a struggling rookie year, historically a lot of really good tight ends have had bad rookie years in the NFL, and I think Hockenson could take a huge step forward next year. I think that Bevell is going to get tight ends more involved next year, but just because of the lack of production, I can't put the tight ends any higher than number 6. And moving into the number 5 position, this one might be kind of controversial, but hear me out before you go out of the comment and tell me I'm wrong. Now, I have the cornerbacks at the number 5 position. Now, I actually think that this secondary on paper looks elite. Desmond Trufant is a true number 1 shutdown cornerback, or he has shown that in the past. Jeffrey Okudah, the number 3 overall pick, was the best cornerback in this past draft class, is a true shutdown cornerback. Justin Coleman, highest paid slot corner in the league, has shown a lot of really good things in Detroit. Amani showed a lot of flashes last year as a 5th round pick out of Penn State. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time this year as he deserves after playing so well last season. Darrell Roberts was a starting cornerback last year, and he is going to be our cornerback 5. And then we brought in a couple, special team cornerbacks to help on the special teams, and Tony McCray. So why do I have the cornerback so low? It's just because we haven't seen the secondary play yet. We haven't seen these cornerbacks play together, and no matter how good a team looks on paper, we've never seen Desmond Trufant play in a Lions system. We've never seen Jeffrey Okudah play in the NFL. We haven't seen Darrell Roberts play in the Detroit Lions system either. And even though we can project and say that Desmond Trufant should transition to the Detroit Lions, well, because we play a more man cover. We play more of a man defense, and Desmond Trufant is more of a man cornerback. Sometimes when you get a free agent from another town or from another franchise, sometimes they just come over and they're not the same player. There's no real explanation why. And until we actually see Desmond Trufant and Jeffrey Okudah, who are our starting 2 cornerbacks who we've never seen play together or play on the Detroit Lions at all, until we see them play together and produce, while we can speculate and say, yeah, they're fantastic on paper, they should be a good secondary, we just don't know yet, and I couldn't put them above other proven positions at this point in time. So moving into the number 4 position on the Detroit Lions, I have the running backs. Now, I think we've all seen Kerryon Johnson produce and prove that he can be a very quality, if not elite, running back in the NFL when healthy. But that is the key phrase, is when healthy, and he hasn't been able to do that in his first 2 seasons. That's why we went out and got DeAndre Swift. Not only is DeAndre Swift going to take some pressure off Kerryon, take away some of the carries, help lighten his load a little bit so Kerryon can get through a full season at an elite level, as he's shown he has the ability to do. But DeAndre Swift is also a very good complement to what Kerryon Johnson does. And I think that 1-2 punch is really going to help the Detroit Lions, especially if we want to be more of a run-first team. So our first 2 running backs are very good, but the depth is also very solid. Not only do we have Bo Scarborough, who showed a lot of really good things last year, stepping in late in the season to be a bell cow running back and really take a huge load for the Detroit Lions, and showed a lot of good flashes, showed a lot of good things. We also have Jason Huntley, a rookie out of New Mexico State, who runs in the 4.3s, is a huge play threat, and I mean, he is just a twitchy, fast, explosive running back, and he can do kick and punt returns, so that's going to help him out there. I think he is going to be kind of the X factor of the offense, and we can line him up at tailback. We could line him up as slot receiver. We can line him up at wildcat if we really wanted to. I mean, he can do a lot of different things, and I think that elevates our running back room even more. And I know I just said that we haven't seen the cornerbacks play, and that's true. And we haven't seen a lot of these running backs. We haven't seen DeAndre Swift or Jason Huntley play for the Detroit Lions, but running backs tend to transition to the NFL quite a bit better than cornerbacks. I just think it's an easier position to transition from. And as I said, I still think that the secondary will have a good year, but I think that the running backs have proven that Kerryon is going to be our starting running back. Bo Scarborough has played for the Lions before, and we've seen that. So we at least know two of our guys that are going to get significant playing time. We know what they're going to look like. Our starting cornerbacks haven't played together before. The nickel cornerback in Justin Coleman has played for the Detroit Lions, but he's not going to be as big of an impact as a boundary corner. So that's why I have the running back slightly above, is because we've seen what the starters can do, and we've seen what Bo Scarborough can do, who's going to have a role on this team. We haven't seen what DeAndre Swift and Ty Johnson are going to do, but I don't think that their role is quite as vital as the starting two boundary cornerbacks for an NFL team. Now, at the number 3 position, I have safeties. Now, the Detroit Lions had struggled in the secondary last year, as we all know. However, Tracy Walker was one of the few bright spots in the secondary with over 100 tackles, an interception, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery. While not necessarily a shutdown safety, he was a very solid one. He made a lot of tackles, he made a lot of plays in the air, and obviously forced a few turnovers for the Detroit Lions. Now, last year, Will Harris started a majority of the games for the Detroit Lions at strong safety, and I'm not going to lie, he struggled as a rookie. Now, with that being said, in this past offseason, we traded a 5th-round pick to the New England Patriots to acquire Duron Harmon, who, while I will admit has never played a full season at safety, has played a lot of significant time for the New England Patriots in that system, and has never gone a season without an interception, and has shown that he can be a very quality safety in the NFL as a backup or as a role player. So I can only imagine what he's going to do as a full-time starter roaming in the backfield for the Detroit Lions. I think he's going to have a very Glover Quinn-esque impact on the Detroit Lions. Just another veteran safety, because last year our safeties were very young. Tracy Walker was only in his 2nd season. Will Harris was a rookie, and those were our starting 2 safeties. So I think a veteran presence such as Duron Harmon is going to have a role or an impact like Glover Quinn had. He's going to see the field like a veteran. He's going to play like a veteran, and he's not going to make a lot of the mistakes that the young players did, and that's going to give Will Harris time to develop behind him. That's going to give Tracy Walker somebody to look up to. It's going to give him a role model, a guy that he can ask questions, a guy that he can model his game after, and is right there that he can learn from. That he's just going to learn, and I think a veteran presence is going to help everybody in that secondary, especially in the safety room, because those guys are going to have somebody to talk to. They're going to have somebody to talk about coverages and rolling different coverages and all these different things, and I think that's really going to help all of the safeties. But I think that he's going to have a huge impact on the Detroit Lions next year. Now, moving on to the 2nd position, the number 2 position on the Detroit Lions, I have quarterback. Now, I know that Matthew Stafford is the most important player on the team. I know that quarterback is the most important position on an NFL roster. However, Matthew Stafford got injured last year, which I'm not going to necessarily put on him. When Matthew Stafford is healthy, when he is playing, which he has shown that he can do all the time, he's not injury prone. That's not what I'm saying. Just the last couple of years, he's had a couple injury concerns, which I personally am not concerned about. And when Matthew Stafford is on the field, he is an elite quarterback. This past offseason, I think we upgraded a backup quarterback, getting Chase Daniels, who has shown that he can win football games in the NFL. He's beaten the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving. He's beaten division rivals before. He's proven that he can do it with a much worse receiving core than the Detroit Lions have. So I think that was a very good pickup. And then I think David Blau stepped up very well last year. And while not being able to necessarily win a football game with as the 3rd string quarterback with a lot of injuries around him, I think he still showed a lot of very good things. I think he showed a lot of flashes, but he also showed a lot of mistakes, which is what you can expect out of your 3rd string rookie quarterback who's never played in the NFL before. He only played 8 games in the NFL as an undrafted free agent rookie out of Purdue. And I think as that role, I think he stepped up big time and actually showed a lot of good things for the Detroit Lions to be a backup quarterback. Now, that only leaves one position left. I mentioned them earlier. That is the wide receiver core. I have them at number 1, and not only because they're so deep at this position, because they're so talented at the top end and all the way through the depth chart. So let me just explain this wide receiver core to you. Now, Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones are both legitimate 1,000-yard, 10-touchdown threats every single season. Last year, they were both on pace for that pretty much. Kenny Galladay got it. Marvin Jones got hurt the last couple of games, but he was on pace for just under 1,000 yards and 10 to 11 touchdowns. Danny Amendola had one of his most productive seasons last year, having almost 700 yards. And this whole wide receiver core, before I mention the rest, is just going to get more comfortable under Darrell Bevell. Them and Matthew Stafford are just going to grow more of a connection as time goes on, and they're going to get more comfortable with the play calling under Darrell Bevell, so I would expect them to be even better next season. Now, not to mention, so those three are a very good receiving core. You could argue those are the top, those three are a top 10 wide receiver crew in the NFL. However, behind them, they have Marvin Hall, who averaged 37 yards a catch last year. They brought in Geronimo Allison, who was a key role player for the Green Bay Packers wide receiver core last year. And then we brought in Quintez Cephas, a fifth-round rookie out of Wisconsin, who just has the mindset you want in a football player. He's going to work hard. He's going to fight for every single yard. He makes tough catches. He makes tough grabs. He fights for every single yard. He's a blue-collar Detroit kind of guy. He works hard. He works hard every single day. And he's going to push and grind and really just do everything that he can in his power to be the best player that he can be. And then behind him, you guys have Chris Lacey, even Jamal Agnew now. You have Travis Fulgham, who are all going to be competing for that spot. And, Chris Lacey and Travis Fulgham showed some things either in the preseason or late last season. And then Jamal Agnew obviously has elite level speed, and we just haven't seen him at wide receiver yet. I mean, this group is so deep, this group is so loaded that they had to be number one over the quarterbacks because, we've seen that David Blau can't win a football game, and while I'm not going to put that 100% on him, the wide receiver group is just so talented and so deep. I could make an argument, a legitimate argument, that this is the best wide receiving core in the NFL just based on talent and depth. So that's why they had to be at number one. Now, if you disagree with any of my selections, if you disagree with any of my placements, obviously let me know down in the comments down below. I'd love to see what your list was from 9 to 1 as far as how our positions stack up against one another. But with that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. If you are enjoying the content, as I said, consider liking the videos and subscribe to the channel. Taking 2 seconds out of your day to make mine and help share it with other people outside this community. Help bring them in and, help them join in this Lions family, to say. So that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day. If there is more Lions just before tomorrow, I will obviously make a video letting every single person know. But until then, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I will see all of you tomorrow. Bye, guys.